Oh, wow. My favorite. Oh, I'm excited. I love your stuff. So,
Thank
this
you.
is great. Farm floor. That was like always what would start my night out.
Yeah.
Settle everything down and then like send it, usually at Chaplin's.
I do find it very common that people say exactly what you say. They start off their night with a farm floor. It has everything that you want in a cider. It's 100% apples. It is blown dry. It is carbonated. And it's just very easy drinking and crisp. So it's really nice kind of to like fall back. That's like my fallback cider. That's what I drink primarily
I don't
every
know where
day.
to go. Farm floor, okay.
Exactly.
Farm floor's here. Everything's going to be fine.
Yes.
You know? This is exciting for me because it's my favorite cider. Sorry to every other cidery out there, but this is my favorite.
So my name is Sara Sherrer. I'm a co-owner and the sales director of Graft Cider. We've been around since October of 2016. It feels like a really long time. A lot has changed. I feel like that 5-year mark, though, is when you really actually start getting recognized and people know who you are. Where before it was like, oh,
If you're like, I'm
Graft.
Sara from Graft, I'd be like, here's the red carpet, walk down it. So you guys are out of New York, right?
Out of New York, we're out of Newburgh. In 2022, we will be opening our tap tasting room, and that'll be on New Britain Road, just a couple blocks back from where we are now.
Awesome.
So.
Their style of cider is just, in my opinion, different and better than everybody else's style. So can you just tell us a little bit about sort of how that happened, why it happened?
So my brother and I are formerly of Millstone Cellars. This was a new American farmhouse cidery out of Moncton, Maryland, and they kind of came out with a cider that we would have considered pre-prohibition, full of natural yeast and bacteria. You got right off the orchard, really just letting it sit and
Naturally
ferment.
do its thing.
Yeah, naturally do its thing.
Yeah.
We wanted to expand on what was currently being sold. There was a lot of sweeter cider. You know, hop cider at that time was becoming a lot more popular.
Yeah.
When all of
Let's
that,
get hops in anything.
And-
And it'll sell.
and it sold really well. I mean, if you look at Anshow right down the street, they still have a hop cider that's
Yeah.
really incredible. So it really is a style that works. We just knew that when we came to market, we wanted something sour. We wanted something funkier that had terroir to it, especially here in the US when all you have available is dessert heirloom apples. You don't have a lot of those great kind of tannic apple varieties. And if you do, you're spending a lot of money to source them.
Honestly, most of us probably have no idea what type of apples, how they get crushed and fermented, and like what's going on.
Cider is not popular here. There really hasn't been a lot of ingenuity and change. Really, for a very long time, it was very generic, kind of cut and dry. We knew how we were going to make this. With this style of cider, every fermentation is going to just be a little bit different. Well, apples are a very hardy fruit, so you find millions, thousands of varietals all over the world. We had really great traditional apples here in the U.S. Johnny Appleseed, when
Appleseed.
when he was
He's
here,
part of the story?
Yeah, he's part of the story. You know, he
I love
went
that.
down. I think it's like the Ohio River. He went down the Ohio River, and everywhere that he stopped, he basically would plant a couple apple trees. Whether it's folklore, whether it's actually the truth, he was kind of like the first person.
It's all true.
For the sake of this conversation.
I mean, the history, cider, of apples, of Johnny Appleseed, it all comes full circle to this table,
Yeah.
to this tasting.
Yes.
And let's get into some of these here.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm fascinated by, God, I can't even, there's so many questions I have, but one thing I'm fascinated by is the artwork on all of the cans, right?
Yeah.
So, like, how's that happening?
We've had the same graphic designer. Actually, I'm sorry, Caleb. He is an illustrator. Had the same illustrator since conception. He's such an incremental part of
They
our
pop
brand.
so hard for people who have no idea what's going on and what they're looking for. They're just like, oh, that looks
That's
awesome. I'm amazed.
We wanted like a childlike sense of wonderment when you looked at our cans. We just wanted to make sure that there was a story being told with everything.
Where do we start?
I think maybe we should start
Yeah,
with
that's fine.
This one, even though it says a rhubarb spritz on it, we are going to rebrand this one as a rosé spritz because that's really what it is. But this is a really beautiful cider. Over the years, we have been 0 grams of sugar. We finally are getting to the point where we can add some sugar to our cider. Still keep it on the dry end, but we just really wanted to kind of come to market with something a little bit sweeter, kind of brings a little bit more balance and body to the overall blend. We just think it makes it that much more of like this punched up kind of tart, beautiful.
I'm literally salivating as you're describing it because I can smell it. I get that rhubarb. I get like these beautiful flavors jumping out of the glass. You know, to snob out and to drink like my cider out of like a nice Riedel glass. The flavors in this are like very complex and there's a lot going on in the glass. So it's worth putting it into a good glass.
You get like some vanilla on the nose and I get like orange.
So you're kind of like in a farmer's market kind of vibe, you know?
We kind of wanted this to have like an Aperol Spritz kind of vibe to it.
So this is like refreshing. Yeah.
And I think within our lineup, we always try to create a reason for people to come over to cider. This is like a rosé within the cider category. Yeah. So anyone who's kind of looking for something a little bit lower in ABV, a little bit lower in calories, this is a really good choice. I think it has a lot of natural wine qualities to this as well. You still get the terroir, you get a little bit of funkiness, you get a little bit of that bright acidity. It just makes this a very interesting cider to drink. And it is going to be 6.9% across the board with everything that we make, because if we went above 7% anywhere in the US, it would technically be in wine. Right now we're sitting in this really nifty kind of cider beer category. If you're ever wondering, why is all the cider 6.9%? It's for tax and licensing reasons.
Okay, you were saying.
What was I talking about?
Who knows? Next, Birds of Paradise. This one is available on the shelf right now. I'll tell you a quick story. You dropped me off a sample. I brought it to a party on a rooftop. People were like, "What is that? I have to come to your store and get it. What is it? What is it? What is it? What is it?"
So this is a Moscow Mule cider. We wanted all the great ingredients of a Moscow Mule kind of layered on top of a cider base. So instead of working with a spirit or a grain-based alcohol, we're just working with simple sugars. There is ginger in this. You're going to get some hibiscus. That's why this pours this really beautiful pink. And then, of course, most importantly, the lime.
And it smells very much like a Moscow Mule. You get a lot of ginger on it. I do get like floral kind of notes as well.
To get a little bit of fruit, you get that beautiful color. You really get the ginger. I think the lime is kind of like the saving grace of this whole blend. I think it really kind of pulls all the flavors together. A little bit of zest, that little zip at the end is just really a nice kind of way to end that sip, and it kind of makes you want to take another.
I mean, all of these have a little bit of that.
Farm Floor is still our bestseller. Birds of Paradise is going to be our second bestseller, and that is because Trader Joe's is now selling Birds of Paradise in New York State.
Never heard of them.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Kind of scary when a big chain only picks up one of your SKU in a really big way. Realize that the gatekeeper can close the door anytime they want.
Production gets all crazy.
Production gets wonky. At the end of the day, what my brother and I are focused on is just growing cider and continuing to make sure that cider is something that people drink and acknowledge. This is one of the first forms of alcohol that we drank in the US. This is kind of the first of our cider cocktail.
Can I put this on ice, or is that going to ruin it?
No, put it on ice. I think that this is a very full flavored option. We want to be low in sugar. We want to be low in calorie. We always want to make sure that everything we come to market with is a full flavored option.